Hello again, people at home, and we're slip-sliding our way to the end of the first day of action here inside the Gnomon green screen hangar for the second annual ZBrush Summit. I'm sitting here with members of the team from the mill who just recently showcased some really high-caliber stuff. It was really a pleasure. I'm sitting here with basically Felix Urquiza. I'm saying this right. Paul's sliding in here making a scritchy, scratchy noise. Thank you for the microphone, Paul. Yeah, they're really new. You hear that? Threw me right off. I was like, what's that sound? Excuse me. So Felix Urquiza.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then we have Majid, Esmaelli. Esmaelli. I'm working on this. I'm butchering it as we go along. And last but not least, basically Krystal. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as the old Meatloaf song goes. Are you familiar with this one? You guys might be. Anyway, thank you so much for sitting with me. It was a packed house again here at the end of day one. You have demonstrated a diverse body of work. Discuss with me some of the pangs associated with that, switching hats so quickly and on the fly. We didn't talk about that too much in there.
No, but yeah, the pains are up and down. You know, bringing in different kind of work demands artists that can do multiple different things. You know, we really prey on a generalist kind of feel, so all of our artists can do multiple things. We do have very specific artists that are also very breaded into kind of an area of expertise. But besides that, we really prey on a lot of generalist work, people that can do multiple things. That makes it easier for that process because we don't just stick to one genre, we stick to multiple genres, multiple ideas. You know, we have agencies coming from all over the world with their own ideas, and we pretty much have to have the resources to execute that. So we take pretty good pride in having artists that can do multiple things.
I think it's a testament to that is the visualizations that we were seeing on the screen and some of the prior work that we've talked about earlier. You mentioned the PETA advertisement with the chimp.
Yes.
That's like a high watermark for me of what can be accomplished. I think from strictly from an artistic standpoint, I'm blown away by that every time that I think about it. Every time the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, that's incredible. These guys are really doing something.
Yeah.
But that is a focused approach to sort of assembling the pieces and the parts of a team to come together for their individual strengths. I mean, talk about some of those challenges and bringing together a team like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, it's not just the modeling process, but it's the look development, creating the skin texture, creating the shaders that go on the skin. You know, one of the young guys asked about the eyes. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the rendering, it's the animation, it's really piecing all those things together to make something photoreal. You know, the mill's really keen on photoreal. That's probably what our biggest pride is photoreal. So in order to really achieve that, you know, it starts with the asset. It starts with the model. It's having a really great model, which will take a talent from that, builds that model, really executes all the level of detail. Then the texturing phase also needs another lead. If you look at that chimp, you know, when it focuses on the lips, you can really see the level of detail of texture. You can see those just the little black dots in there.
Slight nuances that you're getting at, right? She's nodding, of course.
And that's pushing that. But then you look at the skin, and it's like, now you got the model, now you got the texture, now you're developing the skin texture, now you're or the skin shader, you know. So that takes time. So that takes an artistic talent to really recognize the values, the spec maps, the subsurface levels, how to blend all those elements together. And then you got the lighting. You know, you need the lighting artist to really put it all together, make sure that the spills and the keys are really nicely lit. And then you need to finalize it with a compositor. So it really takes a huge team effort to kind of...
A diverse team, mirroring the diverse projects that are coming through the door. I mean, it's really just sort of informed by what's happening.
It's all the same process, just different projects, different stakes, different people do, you know, we utilize their strengths as an advantage for us to achieve the goal that we want for each independent client that we have.
I think it's, again, let's move over to Krystal for 1 second. What are your takes on this? How do you feel about having to sort of stick and move, as they say?
It is really fun. I come from a feature background.
Right.
And you would work on a boat for months. One boat. Not several boats, one boat. And at the mill, you can work on a pig one day, and then the next day work on a Mercedes-Benz, and then the next day work on some pants. You know, it's whatever comes in the door, and then you just have to tackle it.
Do you feel that this is more your speed than the film stuff? Because I wanted to give you the credence to say that you have a long-standing sort of layers and layers of success in film, but at this point you're dealing with some very, very fast-moving environments. When I say environments, I mean like business environments where you're getting projects that are moving at the speed of light, and it's so different than working in film. Talk
Yeah.
to us about that a little bit. For yourself.
Absolutely. I think I was happy with the speed when I was doing film, and as
Right.
soon as you're thrown into the mill, I'm like, oh, it's so much faster, and I'm not getting bored at all. Number one, when I think about going back to film, it seems like they're taking too much time. But at the same time,
yesterday.
they're taking a little bit too much time. But I would also love sometimes to be able to spend an extra week on a project that we just don't have the time to do because of whatever budgetary or calendar reasons.
Right.
So it's kind of just like, quickly I can do this and quickly I can do that. But whichever side you're on, the grass is greener on the other.
Right.
So
I think
I'm
that
having a great time now.
resonated in your presentation. I think I could feel that. I like to think of myself as someone who's a bit more emotionally intelligent and driven to connect with people in some ways. And I thought, it seems like in some cases, some of these projects, they were getting attached to them and they wanted to spend a little bit more time just to sort of hone in on things. Would you say that that's an accurate appraisal of that? I mean, because it really kind of comes through in some of the work.
yeah, definitely.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. So,
Oh yeah, when we had a bit more time on Google, I feel like we all have a bit more ownership over it
Mhm.
and feel like it's our baby than we do on a project that we only spend 2 days on. And it's always really fun if you get a whole week to make an animal,
right.
all the way through to lighting and fur.
Right.
It's yours.
To flex on it a little longer.
Exactly. And
What do you think, Majid, in this regard? Speaking of animals, great horse, by the way. I
thank
was
you.
beside myself. I said, wow, this is like,
Yeah, that actually Game of War was one of the coolest projects that I worked so far at the Mela studio.
yeah, bravo, all of you. By the way, I think it's just a beautiful piece of work. So, tip
Yeah,
of my
well-
hat if I wore one.
I have a honor to work with all these great artists. There's a lot of talented artists at the
Right.
mill. They are amazing. Sometimes I feel like I'm so lucky that I'm working with these guys. Yeah. But about the horse, actually, it was a very cool project that I think all of us, actually, based on the time, we did a great job overall. About the other project that we were talking about, we had a lot of technical difficulties that fortunately we were able to solve all the issues, and we were able to make everything go through smoothly.
Right.
One of the biggest troubles, well, like we talked about it in the presentation, was about we had to connect all the 5 different phases, and it was a new technology about the VR. It was 360 degrees, and we had to grow a monster from a very small size that was less than 1 feet, 20-inch, I guess, right?
I think it was expertly done, to be honest with you. I think
to
evidenced by the
22 to 200 feet tall.
Right.
That it was a little kind of something that we've never done before. It was very interesting. It was very challenging, and at the same time, it was very interesting for all of us. And we had to kind of connect all the topologies together, connect all the blend shapes and skins, and we had to give it a feeling of a growth that nobody shouldn't understand anything about. If you make a small mistake, it's gonna pop in your eyes, and you would immediately notice about the
Right.
the mistakes.
you got a lot
yeah.
of technical things to overcome in some ways.
Yeah. It was both technical and artistic.
Artistically speaking, sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of technical and artistically speaking, I want to take this in a different direction and speak to you more personally. Speaking of technical,
sure.
there are 3 very unique individuals sitting with me. So, of course, I would like to go beyond just the business aspect of your dealings with one another and talk to you personally. Felix, you're originally from Chicago, and you're originally born actually in Mexico.
Yeah, born in
but-
Mexico and grew
in
up in
Chicago.
Chicago since I was 3 years old.
Okay, and so talk a little bit about the effect of street art in that city on you, because you've mentioned this
Yeah.
before in some biographical settings.
Yeah, I mean,
How does this inform what you do today?
what's that?
How does this inform who you are?
Yeah,
today?
I mean, everything really started from that sitting. Urban art is street art.
Okay.
Graffiti, hip hop. All that whole stream is what I grew up on.
You're from the inner city of Chicago?
Yes, south side of
that's-
Chicago.
If you don't know, that's saying something. I mean,
Yes.
growing up in Chicago at the time, I'm going to hazard how old you are, but
Yeah.
it's not much has changed, but it's pretty rough sometimes.
Yes, it is. I mean, I grew up there in the 90s.
Same here in Toronto. So
yeah.
there's some confluence of events that are very similar.
Yes, there is. So I was very inspired by a lot of that art, and since a little kid, I always wanted to draw and was inspired by a lot of the graffiti and color. And I think what mesmerized me was that's no different than what we push here is that level of detail in some of those graphic visuals. It's crazy, you know.
To think
how
they're on
they-
the street, disposable, you know, it's like.
and cans and
Yeah.
you see all these little details and I remember growing up I would go and look at these walls and just see the level of detail that they use with spray cans, and I was just blown that people drew with spray cans and you can put so much level of detail. But, you know, years down the line, you know, there was always an inspiration that I always wanted to be in a very artistic field. And also driven by film and inspired by old school movies. The Abyss was one of my very early
Hey, I
ones.
got that one on
The
DVD.
Terminator was huge for me. I was like, oh gosh, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
Like, I know that this is exactly what I want to be. And had to move to California, and I started my career, you know, and you know, done features, done Super Bowl commercials, you know, high-end commercial cinematics, you know, done a piece of everything, you know. So that's very
A
inspiring.
great
It always starts
trajectory.
from, yeah.
Right? Yes, based on the art from the street.
All
and then
started from the street of art, yeah.
further to the point, though, you have some interest in photography. If people poke a little further, you know, what drives that? Because I've seen some of your photographic work, and I think, oh, there's still that urban sort of.
Yeah.
There's still that East Coast urban attitude in some of those photographs. So
Yeah,
there's still some blood in there that's running deep, right?
Yeah, a little bit, you know. Yeah, I mean, the roots will never. You always have them with you, and
Because they're different cities. We can say this. I mean,
Yeah.
Chicago and Los Angeles are very different places.
very,
With
very,
respect
very
to both, I
different.
mean.
Yeah, I love grunt. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of how I grew up, and you know, I guess my photographs focus a little bit of that grunt stuff, and photography really was really more of a study, actually. You know, when I started getting in the visual effects industry, I was not just a modeler, not just a texture, but I started looked at me in lighting. I was like, I gotta push my skill sets. I wanna render my stuff. So, you know, I got told by another artist, you know, one thing that you can do to really improve is study photography. And so basically I took photography as a challenge, as like really a study, and I did it for a few years. But it's funny because a lot of the stuff that I took is very, you know, I wanted to give raw grunt kind of urban feel, you know.
Like a little dirt under the nails.
Yeah,
Do you-
exactly,
Do you find
you
that
know.
these things, I'm going to ask the same thing of all of you, do you find that these things are percolating and finding their way into your work professionally as so much that you can get away with it?
A bit, you
So
know,
you just
there's a
slide a
bit
little
of
dirt on
that.
the table
Yeah, you
and
know,
see if we can
I
get
always
some-
always push and I always
Right.
want more, and I always like, you know, screw it, if we can do it, let's just do it.
Yeah. And hope that nobody kind of notices, right? You just slip it in
Yeah,
there.
you know, I mean,
That's
the
a fair
guys were
enough
with me.
assertion.
They kind of, you know, I'm always very eager, very driven, very, you know, I have a high passion and a vision of what I want this modeling department to be for the mill and in this industry itself. And I think a lot of that drives exactly kind of where I came from, where I grew up, and the stuff, the art that kind of pushed me to be where I'm at right now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for that insightful biographical
Of
look at
course.
you. I mean, I think that's what we're really after here is showcasing who the people are behind the scenes that make all the magic happen.
No, that's cool.
I'm going to ask the same sort of question to Majid as we go down the line here. You are a celebrated ZBrush Central member,
Oh, thank you.
top row multiple times.
Yeah, thank
What does that layer of acknowledgement from the community mean to you, and how does it make you feel to be so
Oh, yeah,
so
well,
enjoyed? When
To
it
be
comes to
honest
your
with
work?
you, back in Iran, I was living there. Like one of the things that really inspired me, it was like ZBrush community. To be honest, and
Right.
back then, a couple of years ago, it was very active. You know, there was a lot of great artists that actually, when I was looking at their work, it was kind of pushing me forward to work more and kind of study more. I had a chance to show my works like to a lot of great artists, and it was a very great opportunity to show myself. So. Every time I was sharing my works, I made a lot of friends through the internet. Like I believe one of the reasons that why I'm here right now is probably, first of all, it's like the ZBrush and the ZBrush community.
So it served as an underpinning for you, professionally speaking, to be a part of that community?
Sorry, I didn't.
I said it served as you would say that it served as an underpinning for your career growth and your expansion as an artist to
definitely.
see. Because, I mean, it's the greatest collection of digital sculptors on the planet. I mean, we can say that.
Definitely. And something that is really interesting about ZBrush is the support that you get from the Pixology. You know, they were very nice. So I can't forget the first time that I got a phone call from I saw kind of Chaim or
It's Jaime, yeah.
Jaime, yeah. Yeah, he's a very nice guy. The
Yeah,
first
he's
time
a
he
sweet
called me, I
guy.
said, "Oh man, Pixology called me." Yeah, I was feeling very happy about it, and it made me okay to believe myself that I could make it through. Yeah.
So that's your first taste, is this strange Frenchman calling you and saying,
Oh yeah.
hello, can I speak to you? He's been notorious. He's rescued
Yeah.
me from the droves of the Gnomon School parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also my sort of ushering into the business.
Yeah. Well, that was very kind of these guys. To be honest, still I'm friend with these guys, all of them, and I believe ZBrush overall was a very something revolutionary. Overall, made all the artists to have a chance to study faster, and kind of it guys kind of broke the bridge between like technical stuff and like the computer and like.
There's like a
artists.
circular thing that's happening on that thing as well. I mean, I spent
Yeah,
5+ years working here. I mean, I think that there is this interplay between even the Z Classroom and the forum. You know, you have this like really this wonderful place where these funds of knowledge and this information is coming together. There's people contributing and sharing with each other, and at the same time, there's content coming from the company, and it's like a real fostering environment to help propel art forward. And I think that's the running theme as well over the last day, has been this very sort of creative spirit that is embedded in all of us, that brings us and unites us together.
Yeah.
And I think
sure.
it's a very strong energy that I sort of maybe had forgotten for a minute, but coming back to it over the last couple of weeks, engaging with some of the world's greatest artists, again, even for myself personally, yourselves included, I think that it's a tremendous foundational underpinning behind the scenes that makes all of this really great magical stuff happen.
Yeah.
With that being said, you've also done work for McFarlane Toys, which is a...
Yeah, on my personal time, I work as freelancer with different companies like McFarlane Toys and
yeah, it's really cool stuff.
yeah. Also, I
You
work
did the
with-
Walking Dead stuff, right?
Yeah, I work on Walking Dead. On couple
That's really
of-
neat.
Yeah, I worked also on Game of Thrones as well.
Yeah.
That is coming out with other artists. I work with actually for the first time. I worked with other artists that mostly they are like my friends from Iran. So
Yeah. Let me ask you a question about
Yeah,
that.
sure.
You talked about art earlier. I don't want to digress too far, but I don't want to forget to ask him either. Limited time here. You were talking about modern art in the other room for a brief moment. Somebody tried to usurp our interview questions here on the Twitter feed. You have to be careful with the Twitter feed because they're hip to the game. They know what they're going to expect after the show. So sometimes you just throw this out the window and you say, okay, we'll freestyle it. But in this case, you said that you weren't too much into modern art. And you guys can jump in on this as well. Don't feel like you're waiting in line to speak.
yeah, well, I didn't say I'm not into modern art. At the beginning, actually, I was hating modern art. To be honest, first of all, I'm not lying. Yeah, but later I noticed actually.
Traditionalist.
Yes, traditional. No, there's something about modern art that is cool. That is, some of them are very beautiful. Personally, I like it just as for decoration and those kind of.
Yeah,
stuff.
because we
It's very
ascribe these
beautiful.
meanings. I was talking about this off camera with someone else this morning, and we're talking about street art. Let me see your arm one more time. Give him a shot of this arm. So this is an example of modern art, but at the same time, it's
Oh well, it's not modern art. It's like a drawing of a face.
yeah. I mean, and so there we
Yeah.
are.
Well,
so we
no,
have
the
these
modern art-
disparities.
Yeah, the modern art. There's something that made me actually angry. Is like not angry. I mean just upset. Let's say upset. As like I've heard actually they sold one of the paintings from Rothko for $45 million.
Oh yes, the Rothko incidents. I called
Yeah,
them every
it
time
was-
one of those sells.
It
It's a
was
very.
few strokes. This kind of offensive to all the art community. I swear to God.
We're thinking.
Like-
Krystal's laughing on the end. You
Well,
want to say something? Let her say something about this. How do you feel about the Rothko incident?
Majid and I had a long conversation the other day about it, and
I've opened a can of worms.
it is a really controversial issue because my husband's actually an art history minor.
Okay.
And then I got into it with him
Oh geez,
later.
the home life is being affected.
It's
You
a
know?
home life. So it was really fun to we were talking about how, okay, so modern art is important. It came from somewhere. It was the first, to be bold enough to present this as art, and it's making a statement. But Majid brought up a very good point in that it doesn't take 20, 30, 40 years to get to a point where you can make a Rothko painting, but it takes 40 years to make a Bernini sculpture. So
That's fair, and it also takes 13 years to make a Repin. I forget what the title is, but it took him 13 years to make that scene in. There's a signing of the something or other, and they're all there and they're signing the papers. Meaning of the gulags or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a 13-year painting, and as well
yeah,
as
that's worth $45 million. I don't know if Rothko has a historical significance, but I agree that it's not worth that much.
I think it's a strange circumstance that occurs in that regard, where you have some unwieldy sort of numbers that get thrown out there. You see some things that
It's just a bunch of business. rich people and say, okay, I want this is like very unique.
How does
you
this
know?
make you feel? I want to talk to you. I wish I could take these glasses off. I'd go blind if I did at this point. How does it make you feel as an artist to see that? I mean, because you're operating in a classical sense, but using a modern tool. Do you think that people will devalue the things that we're doing digitally?
Well, modern tool. The thing is that if you make a sphere with with ZBrush, nobody buy it. You know, you can't get a job with like.
I say nobody. Maybe that's an extension of.
No,
I
like
believe I
so-
could sell everything, but I mean, careful what you wish for.
Well, to be honest with you, a couple of like maybe it was 2 years ago actually. We went to Museum of Art. We were talking with my friend about one of the works that was there. It was covered, and she was actually insisting that it's a great work that I've seen it before. Let's talk to these guys and to just I don't know why they covered it. And the lady came in and she said, actually, this is the art. You know, it's not covered. This like it was a canvas that was covered with.
Oh. I think
Yeah.
I think I might have seen this. It was just a canvas, like
Yeah, it was canvas that was covered with a
Oh,
with a
boy.
piece of cotton. They say, okay, that's a piece of art, you know, or a bunch of spears on the ground, you know. But the thing is that something that made me happy
or
is that
crunched paper.
yeah, a bunch of crunch paper. Yeah, like I said, I respect the idea that some of them are cool, creative. You know, that's really interesting. But there's a lot of elements actually that you should bring in to make like a great piece of art. You know, and like I don't mind it personally. I enjoy it. But the thing is that it's about the value. You know, is it like it's kind of a misleading a lot of people to a wrong way. A lot of like I see a lot.
Well, there's a
of
lot of sales associated with this. But do you
Oh,
feel
yeah.
that if somebody took a piece of yours, let's say, and brought it from the screen to print,
yeah.
that it would take on a different sort of meaning?
Well, my work is not worth it that much. My work is like commercial
Shh,
work.
the world is watching, man. I'm trying to help you here.
I'm selling into some certain companies, but personally, I would love to just kind of at one point start to do fine art, yeah. And that's my intention. At one point, I will do that. You know.
Okay, spoken like a true champion. He's gone on the record, ladies and gentlemen, around the world. He's
Oh, yeah.
saying it here, Majid is telling you now. Moving on down the line here, I want to speak with Krystal about a couple of issues. You are, as I am, sitting here inside of the Gnomon green screen hanger, inside of the Gnomon Workshop store, surrounded by all the resources, but you are, just like I am, a product of the Gnomon School of Visual Effects. Let's talk a little bit about that as a foundational underpinning for your career, and what can you tell us about the trajectory that that's offered you? What was your experience like all those, well, I don't want to say all those years ago, because that's not, I get in trouble with you here.
No, it was a while ago, and it's funny because I meet people who are older than I am in the industry that went to Gnomon later, and I'm still an old school Gnomonite.
Yeah, you're like from the days of yore. I mean, when there was one room, perhaps, at this point. I
There
can say that.
was-
There's maybe 2 rooms at that time.
There were 3-button mice,
Yeah.
no scrolls. It was, I mean, I went because I first I wanted to be a Disney animator, 2D traditional. I went to one school. It did not do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's when, you know, all the 3D animated pictures started coming out, and I started learning 3ds Max and put a small portfolio together to get into Gnomon. And it was probably the best career decision I've ever made because it got me all the skills, the exposure. I met great people like Miguel Ortega, who helped me.
Hey, I was in his movie. In
Oh, yeah, you were
Indio.
in his movie?
I just a brief spot there. I was like poked my head in that scene where they're in the, they're having a meeting and the guy's like, they're all
In the
sitting, all
lecture
these
hall?
old Victorian, yeah, in the lecture hall. He said,
Yeah.
he caught me in the parking lot. He says, Louis, I need that beard. You need to come with me now. I was like, what's going on, Miguel?
Yeah, perfect beard for his era.
Yeah.
So he was very generous as an instructor of mine. He was my first
He's a great guy.
ZBrush teacher.
Hi, Miguel.
Hi, Miguel. He was my first ZBrush instructor. That was when we didn't know what majors we were going to go into or
Right.
what interests. It was just kind of a general.
Which for a long time, a lot of people came through here as generalists, and I think it served them very well, professionally speaking.
Yeah, it has. And
Yourself
and
included.
At that time, the ZBrush class, as soon as I took it, first class, I was like, I want to be a modeler. This is amazing. I had no idea it could be like this. So that's when I decided to switch all my electives and
Into
studies
modeling.
on modeling.
Yeah.
And he got me started on really inspiring me to be a modeler, and Alex Alvarez as well. I got to attend his first character creature class that he
Oh,
ever put
wow.
on.
Wow, this is on the record. Ladies and gentlemen, a historic moment. This is the first character creature class. You were there.
I was there. I
Alex, if
witnessed
you're
it.
watching, pretty cool, man. He's around somewhere.
So yeah, it was just an amazing experience, and I still recommend it to everybody.
Do you come to the campus at all? Do you have any time to come to the campus? Is this your first time at the campus in a while?
No, I come all the time for different events that they put
Cool.
on, or sometimes I'll do reel reviews for some
Oh,
of the
cool, okay.
younger guys, or younger, but
How can you describe to people at home watching the change and the shift in the student body? It's grown exponentially. It still retains that family sense of growth and fostering environment or learning environment. Is that fair to say that that's always at the root of it?
definitely. I know that everybody's class that they're in, they remain friends for a very long time. And maybe the one class ahead of you and the one class behind. So many gnomon people that I've met, oh, you're a gnomon person too?
Yeah.
And
And it stays with you and through the industry. People say, oh yeah,
It
no,
does.
and so it's like this automatic sort of fraternity or this family. I really have oftentimes appreciated that as well. If I go to a conference or something,
It
there's
really
this
does.
underlying sort of, hey, we're part of the same gang. Not that there's anything wrong with not being part of the gang, but we adopt, we indoctrinate. It's fine.
even the level of work
Yeah.
that comes out of here is terrifying how good it is.
I think
Like,
that's
it is
crazy.
so good.
With the advancements in computer technology, we have seen basically a whole new layer of creativity that has been sort of turned loose, an unbridled fury. Yeah, the same with you, professionally speaking. A lot of these limitations that were considered limitations only a few short months ago have been overcome. You were showcasing some tools inside of ZBrush that, up until a few short months ago were not even available. So
Yeah, and they saved
yeah, the
butts
Z-modeler.
on
You mentioned
job.
the Z-modeler, and I was like, well, there you go. There's a plug, because I think that's not even a plug. That's just like, see how it's used in everyday practicum is an incredible experience.
Yeah, it saved me so much time.
But all this technical stuff brings me to one very important thing. You're originally from the Palm Desert, home of the famous Ace Hotel, Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack, a place I like to call second home whenever possible. I kick my feet up and order myself a Pim's cup. Now I'm telling too much. But you're also a drummer,
I am.
which is a sort of a very difficult thing to get a hold of in this town. And you're a drummer in a band. Tell
I
us
am.
the name of the band.
It's day for night.
Day for Night, okay. And the
film
genre of
reference.
music for those people who haven't checked it out yet?
I'm sorry.
What's the genre of music for those that haven't checked it out yet? Sorry, we got the fans in the background.
Oh,
keeping
it's
us cool.
alt and indie rock.
Okay. And how long has this been going on for you?
Well, I've been in a band with an animator I met at Hydraulics for a number of years, and then they disbanded, and I kept the bassist. We found another guy on Craigslist, and he's our new singer and guitarist.
Oh,
and
wow, okay.
So
No
we just
horror
keep
stories yet
evolving.
from the Craigslist.
No, we had a great experience. He's awesome, and we just play. We're all professionals in another job during the day, and at night it's we schedule in as much time as we can and just play as many places as we can, release
Really?
albums.
So you're out and playing shows at this point. Wow, where can we expect to see you play next?
I'm not sure yet. We are working on our second album
Cool.
currently, but it's a slow process. But we're just
Happy and Harriet's, maybe?
I'm sorry.
Happy and Harriet's, maybe, in the desert?
Probably not there.
Yeah.
We usually play around the Mint and
Okay.
little places in
Sweet
town.
deal. Yeah, Happy and Harriet's, actually, I'm throwing a plug to this place. It's in the middle of the desert. It's like the Joshua Tree, and it's like get out there, and it's one of these places. You look it up. I think you might like it. It's just
Okay.
this little sort of smoked meat house where they have this stage in the back, but all these great bands go through there, so it's worth checking out at this point. I mean, between two musicians. But I think that they're going to be wrapping it up. Is that fair to say? I think I missed. Okay, they're giving us a little while longer. You guys have been on the stage for a long time. Basically, I wanted to ask as well, what are some of the key points of reference for you career-wise? Let's say, what are some of your high points at this particular point that you would look back on and say, well, this was a real sort of win for me? You can talk about it with this particular company or even...
Oh yeah, I mean career highlights.
Yeah, so far.
Definitely today is a huge.
Thanks for saying that.
highlight. I would say it's such an honor, and I got to compete in the sculpt off. I never even dreamed of it.
Yeah,
before.
we didn't even. I mean, I should probably have focused on that. I didn't want to put you under the hot lights, but you already are. What can you tell us about the feeling? I'm glad you brought it up. It's fair, right? I don't bring it up. If she brings it up, it's fair. It's fair game. So
Yeah.
you were a part of essentially what is a second and a half sculpt off. The competition is fierce. There are a couple of people holding on to their belts for dear life at this point, from what I've heard. You describe that to us, what it felt like to be in there inside the action with those guys upstairs.
It was an honor. I did like the way everybody could kind of zone out, because I'm sure everybody was stressed out just like I was. Just put on your music and forget everything around you. I'm sure it's much more stressful when you have a big audience or people are.
I think you were
kinda
all very
talking to you.
fortunate. I'm going to say this for the record. You're all very fortunate because the last time they were on a stage and they were going at it with a bunch of people watching at the 3D Printer World Expo. So you're very fortunate that that wasn't happening in
Yeah.
some regard.
Such a relief. But yeah, Majid was at the last one. He was
There we are. See, I
everyone
know.
talking to him, messing with him. You
Yeah,
know?
right. Coming and talking to you and harassing you. And so you didn't have to deal with any of this. They had you locked away. And
Yeah, thank goodness. That really helped. And the energy in the room was just so nice. Like everybody was just there to, do some good work. And everybody, you could hear the heaviness as soon as, countdown 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, 1. And then you just felt like a weight lift and everybody's just.
did you have any
adrenaline is in the
preparations
air.
leading up to it?
Oh, yeah, totally.
You had set some time aside to sort of work out, as they say?
Definitely. I had 3 whole run-throughs
Oh, wow.
previously just to make sure that I could get it out in time.
Okay.
And I used every second.
And so you're thinking that this is going to be, you're going to walk away with the title, the first ever female title. You steal
I
that
have no
belt.
idea.
This would be a huge thing.
Take it from a current miller.
Whoa, yeah, this is, wow, wait
I don't
a
know.
minute.
Paul is amazing.
Are you
Ham
start?
is from the mill, New York.
Yeah, whoa, wait a minute.
I'm
Felix,
not
this
saying
is
that,
serious
people.
business. Look, she's like, I'm not saying this, people. Wait a minute.
Paul is
You're
amazing. I
we
can't
are
say
talking
that.
about keeping it in the family. I've never heard such a thing. I didn't even realize her from it. Thank you for bringing that to my attention again. For a moment, I had lost myself. This could be a repeat of sorts. The company could walk away with a second. You might have to keep a belt at the office. Holy smoke. People at home and around the world, I can't believe it. It could be a first time, but a second time, and a sort of a repeat for the company. But how do you think Paul will feel?
That's fine. He already had
You can
his-
pass him the mic. How do you think Paul?
He's fine. He had his moment.
He's
now.
had his moment.
Spread
I
the
think
love
we're- I think-
throughout the
Let's
company.
spread the love throughout the company. I would love nothing more than to see it happen. The first,
then
the
I'm
first
a-
lady of ZBrush. Here we go.
And then next year, Majid will come and then take it again.
Majid coming back for the title. How do you feel about next year?
Well, I hope so. I have no time for it.
Sharpen your
Well,
knife.
now
and-
he does.
Sharpen your knife. Well, listen,
We'll continue as much as we can and keep it with the mill.
Felix, I want to tell you, you should have a radio show. You got a great voice.
Oh, well, thank you
This
very
is
much.
fantastic. You should hear this guy. I mean, I wish they had, stereo surround sound in your homes. Excuse me.
Well, thank
On
you.
behalf of Krystal, Majid, and Felix, I'm Louis Tucci inside the Gnomon green screen hangar, the Gnomon store. I'm going to bring it back to you in the main room. This has been a stellar first day. I am beside myself with the creativity and the action that has gone down. Tomorrow, be there or be square, as the old saying goes. First thing in the morning, we're going to kick it off on Sinful Saturday, and it's going to be another wild, wild roller coaster of a day. Paul, take it away and send them home nighty-night from the Gnomon Green Screen Store. Thanks very much. Louis Tucci over and out.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
This is
guys.
awesome.
I appreciate it.